So this comes on the heels of new information today that there is a, quote, full-blown emergency at our southern border tonight, according to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials. The agency released absolutely stunning numbers. Look at this. 132,000 apprehensions in the month of May alone. That's 30% bigger than April. It's double what we had in February. The agency also produced this chart. Take a look at the yellow line here. Look at what's going on with apprehensions. You don't need to be a scientist to figure out that this is a trend that is moving sharply higher in the fiscal year of 2019 so far, higher, significantly higher than the past 6 years. President Trump in Ireland this afternoon saying this about the tariff threat that he poses against Mexico.
Mexico, look, the drugs that are coming in, the people that are coming in unchecked, they're swamping up, or they're coming up by the millions. Mexico can stop it. They have to stop it. Otherwise, we just won't be able to do business. It's a very simple thing. And I think they will stop it. I think they want to do something. I think they want to make a deal.
Yeah, but the president's got an issue here because not all Republicans are on board here. Watch this.
We're not fans of tariffs. We're still hoping that this can be avoided.
I'm worried about the tariffs. I worry that the harm to our economy will be greater than the deterrent effect on Mexico.
Slapping a tax on every time it comes across in one direction could be very damaging. So let's hope this doesn't happen.
So you get the idea. Joining me now, Andy Puzder, author of The Capitalist Comeback and former CKE restaurant CEO. Austan Goolsbee, economics professor at University of Chicago's Booth School of Business and former President Obama's chief economist. Gentlemen, this is, very interesting. The president says he's sticking to his guns on this. But, Andy, let me start with you. People in his own party say that they think this is a mistake.
Well, look, you can't really judge this as an economic move. This is a political move. We need to address the emergency at the border. And if these Republicans who aren't siding with the president have a better solution, then they should propose it and come up with it, because something's got to be done. As you said, there is a dire emergency at the border now. We've gone from a crisis to a dire emergency, and nobody else is coming up with anything. I think the president feels like he needs to act. He has to act. And if Congress isn't going to support him, there's not a lot of other choices.
Yeah, so, that raises the question. We had so much back and forth, Austan, over is it a crisis, isn't it a crisis? I remember reporters standing up at the White House saying that the president was making the whole thing up, that it was a manufactured crisis. Now you've got 132,000 apprehensions at the border. So the question is, what would you do? What would you do, Austan? What would you recommend the president do?
Well, I would recommend the president pass a law. If you want to address immigration, then go do something that the majority of the American people support. Don't start locking kids in cages. Don't separate families from their kids and deport the parents. You saw when the president took those approaches to immigration, he did so promising that it would deter people from coming to the border. It did nothing of the sort. And what you do not do is then go create an economic problem for U.S. manufacturing, which is to put a multi-$100 billion tax on American workers and American consumers to try to punish some other government. I think it's non-constitutional. It violates Article 1 of the Constitution. And it keeps belying the basic question. Why can't the president just go pass a bill like the Constitution outlines? And the reason
you
is
could have asked the same question of all of the previous presidents, President Bush, President Obama. Why doesn't the president just pass a law? Well, we know the reality of why that doesn't happen, because both sides are so dug in on the advantages that this gives to them politically. But I think the American people are so sick and tired of watching what's going on at the border that Andy, perhaps this is something that will push the Mexican government to the table and insist that they help block their southern border and their northern border so that we don't have this influx that's just simply unmanageable. Is there a political solution here, and are we getting somewhere in these talks that we just reported on?
As Austan well knows, the president doesn't pass a law. Congress passes a law, and Congress won't help him pass. The Democrats will not pass a law. There's not going to be a law. He's president of the United States. He has to act. He is acting. And if you wonder whether this is going to work or not, well, the Mexicans are at the table. They were in Washington, D.C. today. They're talking. They'll talk again tomorrow. Hopefully, this will bring some kind of resolution to the emergency that we're now being impacted by at the border. Long term, the solution should be legislation. But both parties are going to have to work together to accomplish that. And I think, as everybody knows, that's not going to happen before the election.
Austan?
Well, I would just say the reason the president can't get legislation passed is because literally 3/4 of the country disagree with the approach that he's taking. They don't favor putting kids in cages. They don't favor separating children from their parents and deporting their parents.
I understand that
They don't favor
that's a
building
very
a wall.
bad moment in this conversation, but to
this
keep
is a
going back to it doesn't really get us anywhere. So, you have to, I asked you the first time, like, what would you do? And you said, the president should pass a law, which is, as Andy just explained, isn't how it works. And we know that prior presidents were able to do it.
how putting
So I'm just looking for one suggestion from you as to something else that would be concrete that would stop the influx at the border right now, specifically.
Okay, I can give you 3, but let's start with financial aid to the enforcement community, that they would allow asylum seekers to come in and apply according to U.S. law, and that if they were granted asylum, then they would be allowed to come in legally, so it would not be illegal.
The asylum laws. All right.
Where's he supposed to get the
money
from?
Change the asylum laws.
They won't even give him money for the wall. Where's he going to get the money from?
We'll pick it up here next time, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Good to see you tonight.